This is Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr. and
Shawn Appleton.
And this is Hebrews
in Exile.
Shawn.
The Honorable Robert B. Holman Jr. Yes, sir.
We sit at these mics every week and welcome Kenya and Lamont Wright and Kodesh Israel. Thank you for joining us this evening for this podcast. And as I was thinking, we've talked about a lot of subject matter in the since we started the podcast. I don't know how long.
I remember it's February of 2022. 22, yeah, 22. I think so. Maybe, yeah, definitely 22.
Yeah, and, we've shared a lot of thought and a lot of content. We've tried to be true to Scripture, and we've tried to be true to the historical content that surrounds Hebrew Israel. We've tried not to express opinions too much.
Right, yeah.
But last week, I was really kind of fired up last week about this whole idea of how Christians see the Most High and how disconcerting they are about His name.
Right.
And that kind of took me off to a place that I didn't get back from.
Yeah.
And in that process, we had a gentleman who came into the
chat, yeah, and the on YouTube, yeah,
and really just caught me at a place where I already was. I was already lit up. And we thought about that, and I thought about the subject matter that we were talking about, and I kind of, even if it's possible, I don't even know that it's possible to put the issue of the ethnicity of Hebrew Israel to rest. I don't even know if it's possible to do that. But I want to talk about that.
Yeah, let's do it.
There are several writings that are out there. One is called The Black Hebrews and the Black Christ. I'm not so much concerned about the Black Christ as I am about the Black Hebrews. And it's by Elmer von Flescher, and I've mentioned him before in several writings. And the question is about this identity of Hebrew Israel.
Sure. Who are they?
And when we look at Scripture texts, we know from Scripture that, and history, that the created man in the image of the Most High is created from the dust of the ground.
Yes. Correct.
It does not take a scientist with a degree to figure out that if you're created from the dust of the ground, that your pigmentation is going to be brown.
Absolutely.
Or reddish or dark.
Sure.
or black.
Mm-hmm.
All of our ancestors, and you and I have come to a point where we no longer look at text as though it is foreign to us. We look at text and we look at the individuals that text is written about. We look at them as our ancestors.
Yes, we do.
And we don't look at it as a story that's been told. We look at it as a historical document, a biography, if you would, of our people.
Yeah. It's almost in the same vein as being in the United States when we go to world history or we go to American history and we learn about the things that are germane to this country, and it creates this sense of pride for the citizens that are here, because you're learning about the things that happened in this country in order to establish itself as its own sovereignty from its prior, I should say, totalitarian kingdomship that it was, a monarchy that it was under, and all the changes that it goes through. We go through and we study those things to understand and establish a pride in a country. And it's the same thing when we look at this. We just look at, these are our ancestors, and it gives us a sense of pride of understanding that, when we read text and we're close to the Most High, and the Most High chose this particular group and it chose this particular piece of real estate, and we come to this identity, newfound identity that we didn't have, that even though in the diaspora it was stripped from us, from what we thought was our history, goes way beyond that.
Yes.
In establishing our kingship and who we are as a people. So it's one of those things that when we study, it gives me, at least for me, it gives me a sense of pride.
So when we look at history and the evolution of the created man, we know that the created man, from a historical perspective and from most and a lot of the modern day ability to map DNA, takes us back to East Africa.
Absolutely, it does. Takes us right back to right in that Rift Valley, where the beginning of everything comes from. Right in that area, that Ethiopian, Kenyan strip that's over there.
So I mean, if you do a historical study, you'll find that the Most High created man in that portion of what we now know is the earth, the world. The continent of Africa is a place that is the homeland of melanated people.
Sure.
It is also true that Egypt is also a place where you have the Egyptians were melanated people.
Absolutely.
So when we look at all of these individuals from creation to Father Abraham, and somebody tells me that Father Abraham wasn't melanated, I'm going, I don't know what reference you're reading and from what source you're coming from. And I really do wish that gentleman was back online with us tonight, because I I'd like to educate him in terms of the fact that our ancestors and Hebrew Israel are melanated people and black people.
Who did you mention? I'm just taking a sidebar real quick. Who did you mention? It was Hitler's chief general?
Yes.
Or of propaganda, or whoever that was. I forget the gentleman's name.
She shouldn't have said anything. I would have.
You just wrote off by osmosis. You'd have wound up on it.
Yeah. Global,
right?
Yeah, global.
You tell something a lie long enough, and even text even talks about these individuals have come and taken your name.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that a little bit tonight with some source material.
Okay.
There is this book by Janice Swinston, and the title of it is "Go Tell My People Who They Are: The True Biblical Identity of Black People, the Biblical and Historical Identity of Ham, Shem, Japhet, and Japhet's descendants." In this particular writing, she has done an excellent job of providing not only the historical information, but also the scientific information that has brought us, that helps us to understand this whole archaeological and scientific issue of racism. And it's interesting to me that people don't want to identify with who they are. I mean, what? I mean,
No, I agree with you 110%.
Shawn, we have gone. I mean, there are too many scriptorial facts that support the position of the atrocities that have befallen melanated people in this diaspora. And this diaspora is not just relegated to the United States of America.
Oh, sure.
It's relegated to the four corners of the world.
Absolutely.
And in all the four corners of the world, the melanated man has been subjugated to European imperialism.
Sure. Absolutely.
And this European imperialism has leaked its way, and this is what, one of the things that disturbs me the most of it all, man, particularly as I listen to the political climate and as I listen to people of color side with individuals who have a ingrained disdain for them.
Sure.
And I mean, it's like trying to rub noses with your pet lion.
Yeah, knowing that he's
knowing that one day he's gonna bite your nose off.
Exactly.
And historically, that has happened. Young men had them two lions. They was courting around as pets. You remember them? And and one day, as that lion turned on him.
We talking about the entertainers?
Yeah.
Siegfried and Roy?
Yeah, not Siegfried and Roy. Was it Siegfried and Roy?
Well, I know one of them turned. It was like one of them white tigers turned on him or something.
Yeah. See, and you know, sooner or later, they're going to turn on you.
Wow. You know what it reminds me of is an analogy that I make, and it's this deal of, because I'm getting to your question that you had asked earlier, is why people don't kind of acquiesce to it. And the way that it makes sense to me in my head is, it's like you've grown up, and I've used this analogy before, you've grown up your whole entire life, and you have parents, and those parents have raised you, and you've, generally speaking, not every household is the same, but you've had a generally good upbringing. And one day your parents pull you aside and they say, you know what? We need to tell you something. We're really not your parents. We got this DNA test done, and really this individual over here, or these individuals, are your real parents. Now, the average person would probably say, you know what? You've lied. Well, not necessarily lied to me, but this information is big. You knew this the whole entire time, and you've kind of kept it from me. So you're going to feel some remorse, what's the eloquent word that I'm looking for? It's you've been let down. You're disappointed, but you don't disown them. You know, it's like, you've raised me. You've coddled me from a young infant to where I am now. You've given me tutelage upon which I've been successful, at least to an extent. But now you're telling me that my biological parents are over, and I have to go ahead and establish a relationship over there. 9 times out of 10, granted, people will maybe make an effort, but at the end of the day, they're still going to hold their allegiances to who raised them. And that is what's happening to our people. The Christian church has raised our people. And so when they come into the knowledge, it's not as if they don't accept it. But this is who raised me over here. And I'm not just going to abandon that, because there's some good people over there. There's some good things that come out of there. You say so yourself sometimes when you said it. Said you don't necessarily throw out the baby with the bathwater. There's some good nuggets that are over there in Christianity. But a half lie is, well, you can't have a half truth.
There's a whole lie.
There's a whole lot.
Yeah.
And so you got to come to terms with the fact that, okay, these individuals over here are my parents. These individuals, for whatever reason, I got to go now and have a relationship over here and see what's going on. And people don't want to make that step because they're just so used to what they've had before in the past. So I sympathize with the reluctancy to actually establish a relationship with the Most High when you had Christ raise you your whole entire life and you seem to be doing okay. It really, unless you've had some type of trauma from the church or you've had something that drove you away, most people are not going to acquiesce. They're going to sit fine where they are, especially when you have a doctrine that allows you to do anything that you want to do, that doesn't give you any restrictions or parameters on life, that just basically says, I can do whatever I want to do, and if I mess up, I can go put it on this person that died for my sins over here, and I have no atonement or take responsibility for any of the actions that I have, especially when you have a doctrine that tells you're exonerated from any wrongdoing, period. You don't have to pay for anything. It's pretty.
But you see, there's a problem that we're confronted with. And and I tell people all the time when they ask me, how you doing? Mm-hmm. How's the ministry? Mm-hmm. And my response to them is, we're purists, mm-hmm. and we're on an island by ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. On this island, walking all the way around,
and
where's everybody else?
And the true point of the issue is that we walk in and at the behest of the Most High to be different. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that he called Hebrew Israel to do, he called her to be different, mm-hmm. and he called her to be the head and to be the leader and the teachers of the nations, and not to be the tail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
European imperialism has caused Hebrew Israel to become the tail because she has refused to accept the mandate that's been placed upon her. Mm-hmm. And with this mandate that's been placed upon her and her refusal to do so, historically down through time, and particularly in this diaspora. I have to say in the diaspora, because before the diaspora, we didn't have a problem.
True.
Well, no, that's not correct. That's not correct.
We didn't have a problem. Well, yeah, okay.
That's not correct. The diaspora is the result of us having a problem with the Most High.
There you go.
Not following His mitzvot and abdicating Him and not wanting to lead, but wanting to join with the nations. And by our joining with the nations, it has eroded our purpose and our existence in the world.
Mm-hmm. Even in a practical sense, from what we do on a day-to-day basis. Why? I asked myself the question the other day, why am I seeking validation from the people I'm supposed to be leading?
Yeah.
I'm going to work, and I work with generally non-melanated people. And even outside of work, we're surrounded in this exile by non-melanated people, and we're constantly seeking their validation for everything. We can't move unless they say it's okay. And that's not how text is written, because you don't know who you are. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, the jealousy comes into play because they know who you are. And that has been, this is so funny about our people, because it's everything that's in that book is manifesting itself even to this day. Even to this day. We got individuals over here, again, like I said, we're looking to them for understanding. We're looking for them to validate us when, again, we should be leading them at the end of the day. They will put things into place to make sure that you don't advance, because they understand the power of what's going on. And this is why I'm drawing back on this analogy, saying the same things are happening today, because when you look in text, everybody knows. Even if you look in the book of Yehudi, you look in the book of any of our writings, people will come and say this, even in the book of Shotim, we know who you are. We know who your Yahweh is. We can tell you about him. We can tell you about the things that he's done. How come you can't? That's a sad commentary when everybody else knows and has systematically put things into place to suppress your advancement towards the Most High, because they know. We lead the world in everything, inadvertently. It doesn't have to be like, okay, we're going to push you guys out in this particular area. We just do it because that's a part of our DNA, because the Most High has created us to be a certain way, to be creatives, to all the things that we do lead the world in. And in every single instance, it's looked down upon.
Yeah. Let me respond. I want to respond to something there that Kenya has written.
Okay.
You talk about seeking validation, and she says, well, maybe more like we have to work harder to prove that we are not inferior. Well, if I'm having to work harder to prove that I'm not inferior, that's seeking validation. I'm trying to prove to you that I am as good as you and even better, when in fact I shouldn't have to do that, because historically it is a known fact that the Father's people are far superior than any other ethnic group on the face of the globe. And I've come to the conclusion of realizing that they know that, and that's it's not that I'm black that has them scared. It's the fact that they know that given the opportunity, you give me the opportunity, I'll outshine you.
Absolutely.
Because it's part of who we are. And Lamont says the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he that hearketh unto counsel is wise. Well, yeah, the issue here is the fact that our people are stuck in a European imperialized state of having lost their total identity. And when you and I come on and we start talking about Hebrew Israel is melanated, the imperialists rise up to want to defend their imperialistic idea. But that doesn't cancel out the truth.
Exactly. Look at the subtlety of this. We say this all the time to our children, or we say this when we go to work. I gotta work twice as hard in order to do what somebody else is doing. That, to me, I'm gonna tell you personally, is the stupidest thing that you can say. Think about how that's framed. It's affirming that you're inferior to everyone else and that you have to work you don't have to work twice as hard. You just have to work in the office upon which the Most High put you in. You've already achieved the excellence already. You just need to assert yourself in that office to show, not to show people, but to exemplify the Most High in all that you do. You don't have to frame it in a way to say, baby, I know as a black person, I'm sitting here at the job, I got to work twice as hard in order to do this. I got to work twice as hard to do that. I don't like framing things in a way that makes people feel, at least our people, say that I'm already less than you. Because I'm not. Never will I ever tell a child or tell myself that I got to work twice as hard as somebody else to achieve something. Because I already have that.
Exactly.
Already.
Right. And here I think is the point of my discussion and talking about the melanated man and the issue that the Most High has birthed when he talks about he created the eternal people. When you and I walk in the expectations of the Most High, okay, in life, we don't have to prove anything.
No. Not at all.
Because text and the Most High are always going to do its own validation of you. And the Most High is going to show up. And as we say, he's going to show up and show out.
Exactly. You never see our ancestors, and you never see the prophets, and you never see our leaders, and you never see the GOAT, Moshe, through the Most High, tell the people what we tell ourselves today. Why? Because we understand who we are. I don't have to. You need to go work twice as hard as them Philistines over there to do what you needed. They're like, no, please. Them Philistines need to fear us. And that's the way that we should be moving. When I go walk out of these four walls, I understand and I know who I am. I understand that I intimidate people by it's not an arrogance, it's just a confidence of knowing who's got my back and what I represent. Yes. And who you getting ready to fool with ain't somebody that you really need.
That's funny. That's funny. That's funny.
It's you come into this different when you walk in the Most High's ways and you walk in the mitzvot, you have a different way of carrying yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't walk downtrodden in this, like you said, this imperialistic way of saying everything is framed that you're on the bottom.
No.
I walk as if I'm going to show the nations and I'm here to save y'all.
Right.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna give this away. I was gonna hold my peace to the time that I was getting ready to talk in March about this whole entire issue. But there's an individual that came to David as he was in the dispora. He found out, and this is in the as we get into the second book of Shemuel, first chapter. He finds out that this individual comes to him and he says, "Hey, Melech Shaul is dead, and so is Yehotanan." David, in his infinite wisdom, which is it's a beautiful thing, mourns the loss of not only the king, but he also mourns the loss of his best friend, Yehotanan.
Yeah.
The individual that brought the information is from the Amalekites. Now, had he known who he was going to talk to, and had he known the mitzvot on the Amalekites, I think he would have thought twice about bringing that information to David. Because there's something that says that I'm supposed to exterminate you because you are an Amalekite and because of the things that you did. I only bring that up to say that regular people can't mess with us. There's mitzvot that says you are a chosen people, and these people cannot fool with you. And when you run across them, this is how you're supposed to deal with them. But we don't think about it like that. We think that we have to, again, keep validating ourselves to the Amalekites, to the Philistines, to everybody else that's out there in the world. Again, if we get back to this issue of understanding, which is going back to your point, we first have to go back in text and establish who these people are. Go back and establish the lineage, and we have source material, outside source material that we didn't write.
Right.
Other people are validating the same point.
Yes.
But there's this apprehension, and I get it. But at the same time, once we step into the understanding of that, I think we won't need necessarily to go and have somebody affirm you every single week like they do in church, because you'll just naturally have it already.
Yeah, right. Now, one of the things that, my wife used to always say to me, she used to say this to me, she says, "You intimidate people." And I used to look at her and I go like, "No. How do I?" She said,
"How am I intimidating?
How am I intimidating anybody?" Mm-hmm. She says, "You intimidate people by the fact that they know that you know things that they can't explain." One. Mm-hmm. Two, she says, you have an air about your walk. And I go, what? That I'm a confident person? Mm-hmm. That I'm confident within myself? Mm-hmm. Because I know who I am. Mm-hmm. I know whose I am. Mm-hmm. I know where I'm going. Mm-hmm. And I know that the Most High has my back. And I'm supposed to walk like I'm scared. I'm not.
Right. And
I am. Listen.
Go ahead.
Hebrew Israel, when you profess that you are walking in the mitzvot and under the covering of the Most High, you have the right to walk like you are part of a nation of people that are special. And doggone it, yeah, I have an air about me. Mm-hmm. And that air is connected to the nation that I am a part of, the people that I'm a part of, and the Elohim that I'm a part of. I'm sorry if you can't get there. And I'm sorry if you're intimidated by that. But how did I get here? Mm-hmm. I didn't get here by just being a bobblehead, accepting everything that came across the pulpit. Mm-hmm. My father used to call me a rebel. Mm. And when I really used to get on his nerves, he referred to me as that rascal. Mm-hmm. That means I'm coming from someplace that's stirring the pot. Mm-hmm. But while I'm stirring the pot, he has to acquiesce to the fact that I'm factually, scripturally correct.
Right.
Because I'm not a bobblehead.
That's right. You did the research, and that's what anytime what you just described is leadership, is what the Most High asked us to be. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, has an air about himself. And why is that? Because he knows the game, he's at the top of his game, and people around him know that, and Michael Jordan is intimidating. To Michael Jordan, he's not.
Right.
He's just playing the game at the level at which he needs to play it at his
right.
level of excellence.
Right.
And so when we walk in the mitzvot of the Most High, that's what we're doing. A woman is not going to follow a man that's the antithesis of what you just got done saying. Head down, not confident, not a leader, not going nowhere. Nobody's going to follow that. Nobody's going to follow a leader of the free world if he acted like that. So why would, and most importantly, if our Most High Yahweh acted like that, like, I don't even want to bring Jesus. I can't keep this man.
I mean, you can't. You can't.
You want to follow people that are confident on what they know, that there's humility that's there. It's not like we're coming off like, you know what, you idiot. Oh, we're not doing that.
No.
We're trying to educate people on just a simple fact on who they are. And at the end of the day, one of my favorite things, at the end of the day, all the things that you just got done saying, and I'm going to repeat myself, are germane to our people. We walk with excellence, we walk with confidence, and people look to us to have that understanding and hold us at a higher standard. Because why? Because the Most High is close to us. So I don't look at it as being somewhat intimidating. People may say that. I'm just piggybacking on what you're saying. But for me, and when we talked about it kind of off camera, 2023 was that year that I realized, even as I was talking on stage and doing my dissertations up here, and having a better affirmation and understanding of who I actually am. And I'm not going to sit here and allow a group of people to tell me who I am. They're not going to tell me that, okay, you're this or you're that.
No.
And you need to work twice as hard just to be me.
No.
Are you serious?
No.
How about you work twice as hard to be me?
What I have to do now, here's what I have to do, and you can acquiesce to this.
Mm-hmm.
You sit in the seat of a company and the seat that you sit in is a very high seat in that company.
True.
I don't believe that you sit in that seat based upon the color of your skin.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You sit in that seat based upon the excellence,
mm-hmm.
the knowledge, and your ability to deliver on the principles that the company that you work for is established to do. And you do that with excellence. So if you function with excellence, which is who your Most High is the most excellent. And you and I carry his DNA. I am never going to let anybody make me feel inferior to who I am.
That's it. That's it.
And the only thing that I'm concerned about as I talk about this subject, as I look at our people inside the walls of these monuments that they have created, that a lot of our people walk in a downtrodden state until they get to the place of worship, where in that house they feel like they're somebody. You should be able to feel like you're somebody anywhere you are.
Sure.
I mean, and we've talked about this before, that the Christian church is the only place where nobody can become somebody.
That's true. That's very true.
But I was somebody before I walked through the doors.
That's right.
And that's the way that we need to carry ourselves. I was somebody before I walked through these doors.
Agreed.
And the fact that you've given me a position in your little system only raises the fact that you recognize that I'm somebody and that I have some excellence to bring to the table.
It's interesting.
But now I get back to the issue of looking at some text here in Janice's book, and she talks about here, and she writes here about an individual called Dr. M.G. Sealing. He writes that the earliest race of beings were Negroid. It is but natural to believe that at one time there were universal. These were universal, and that their birthplace must have had one common center, which must have been Africa. Throughout the whole world, where the opposite remains of earliest man have been found, we find that we find the same type, which is Negroid. So my point being, when I come back and we talk about our people again, the one thing that they have a problem being from is from the motherland. Haven't you come across that? I mean, you talk to them about, I don't want to go to Africa.
Yeah,
that's where you came from.
Yeah, exactly.
That's your origin.
Exactly.
That's where your ancestors were birthed.
It's like they become more Americanized than anything else, and they don't see the value. And until you go there, that's why we have the testimony that said every African American, every South American, everyone in this dispora needs to go back home. One time. You need to see that, because the social wealth is so overwhelming. That energy is so overwhelming. And if you could imagine, we went there. And
right.
Could you imagine them are all Hebrews. If we had an understanding of what that was, and then we were walking with the See, we totally forgot about our economic status when we got over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was about community. It was about people.
Yes, yeah.
And that was one of the turning points. And I'm so thankful that the Most High had allowed us the means to allow both of us to go, because it was so cathartic for me to see that community. And it's talked about here in this text that we read all the time.
Right.
But until we talked about it in the podcast, until you have an experiential knowledge of what's there, it's just going to be theory for you.
Yeah, see, why do I raise this question tonight? Because I got challenged last week about the question, well, are all Hebrews black? Well, that's our origin.
True.
Our origin is melanated. Abraham was melanated. Moshe was melanated.
That's right.
Yaakov was melanated.
That's correct.
The 12 sons of Israel were melanated.
Yes, they were.
The prophets were melanated because all of them came from one of the 12 sons of Israel.
Absolutely. Had to be.
And the writer, and here's the most interesting thing. The writer of our biological historical document, the Most High spoke to melanated men to write down on pages so that we would have this historical understanding of who we are in connection not only to ourselves and our people, but also to him.
True.
And he called us the eternal people. He didn't call nobody else the eternal people.
That's right.
And that's one thing that you and I can I mean, if I'm going to play church and I'm going to turn the organ up and get a song and I'm going to dance a jig, I'm going to dance a jig to the fact that I have been created by the Most High and he calls me part of the eternal people.
Absolutely.
I want to shout about that. I want to make a noise about that. I'm going to talk about that till I go to my grave.
That's a beautiful thing to understand and know that.
Because understanding and knowing who you are is critical to your existence in this world, not only in this world, but also in the world to come. So if you deny yourself in this dispora, I mean, you know, let me put this in a political. I'm going to put this in a political sequelae. I heard a Republican senator who, two of them, as a matter of fact, who did not vote for the infrastructure bill.
Okay.
They didn't vote for it. Okay? But it got passed.
Okay.
Okay? And Biden's infrastructure bill is providing jobs and it's providing the rebuilding of roads and things and bringing stability into communities. So this chick didn't vote for the bill, but there was some money that was appropriated that she went and got because of the bill that she took to her people and then took credit for it.
Yeah, I don't believe in this bill, but I'll take your money. Yeah, it's a little disingenuous.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Another gentleman, Republican, standing under a decrepit bridge that's being rebuilt as a result of the infrastructure bill, that he didn't vote for the bill either. He said, yes. He says, I've always wanted to do what's best for our community. But you didn't vote for the bill. But now you're trying to take credit for something.
Right. Exactly.
What's my point? I don't want our people to get to that point in life where they have denied something, but then when the positive benefits arrive, they want to act like they was on board all the time.
Exactly.
I want to sing a song to you. That we used to sing in the church. Get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, get on board. Little children, there's room for plenty of more. Get on board.
Yeah. Nobody likes that.
See, the issue is, what are you afraid of? Because we're going to find something when I start teaching this week, when I teach this Sabbath, in chapters number 50.
Oh, 50, okay.
51. The Most High is going to tell us about not being fearful. Don't be afraid.
Mitzvot.
You don't have to be afraid. Of what?
Exactly.
You know, here's the thing. If you formulate a healthy community of Hebrews, then you have a community to bond with, you have a community to fellowship with, you have a community to learn from. So then you're not alone.
Right.
And if there's a community around you that you can join and be a part of, then you're not alone.
Agreed.
And I'm going to say something to you all, okay? The Most High has called you to be teachers to the nations. Why don't you start teaching?
Oh, boy.
You don't have to have a pulpit to teach in. Why don't you start some Hebraic studies of mitzvot and scripture reading in your own homes, and start inviting people in to talk about the word of the Most High.
Sure.
Lead. Start leading.
Leading.
You've been called to lead. Lead.
You got enough text in you. And matter of fact, it's not that difficult. You can just read, just like I do. Read it, and if you can pull out the mitzvot in there, then and do that. Another alternative, and by leading, is even if you're apprehensive about having something in your home. We talked about this. We said, meet people where they are.
Exactly.
My brother is a fitness nerd. He loves fitness. And because of that, it drew him to, and he has an affection for the Most High. He got there in a roundabout way coming through Christianity, but he got back in, and I led him and I said, look at this text. He looked at the text. It met him exactly where it was, where his fitness was, how he was supposed to eat. I didn't even get the point where I was actually going to take him to the first chapter of Daniel that talks about a particular issue that's in there. We talked about that offline. But the issue is that even if he doesn't acquiesce to all of the mitzvahs of the Most High, you know in a conversation with a person where their heart actually lies. And there's so many things, if you understand text, there's so many things in there that you can pull out and say, you know what? In this particular situation that happened over here is just like what you're talking about. It talks about fruits and vegetables. It talks about these types of things. And it gets people's head in the text, and which is the doorway for me to say, now, if you can acquiesce to the mitzvot on dietary laws, just don't stop there. This ain't no golden corral where you can just go over there and pick and choose what you want. Okay? You need to start reading the rest of it and start getting it in, because they're all interconnected. The community functions. This is such a beautiful thing. The community functions because every aspect of the community, the Most High has a purpose for. Multiple wives, there's a purpose for that. Most people think multiple wives is for the sheer enjoyment and pleasure of men. That has nothing to do with it at all. The mitzvah on multiple wives talks about how we're solving a community problem. If a woman is widowed, or someone is widowed, how do we take care of that? Based on the structure of how the community was set up. Has nothing to do with you sowing your royal oats. So it's that. It's eating. It's everything. It's how I treat you. It's how we lend money to. It's every aspect of our community is governed by these mitzvot. And you can take a piece out of something and relate it to someone else on where they're at.
You know, the interesting part.
Lead.
The interesting part of this discussion that we're having tonight is the fact that your heart and my heart is for the growth and the expansion of knowledge into the hearts of the Father's people, so that the Father's people will see. You know, I think one of the issues I'm going to say is our people cannot reconcile the benefits of obeying the Most High.
Yeah, they think it's an oppressive thing that restricts their, and it's framed like you're getting your freedoms taken away from you.
And it's not.
No.
You have more freedom handed to you.
Exactly.
Which is hard for some people to understand coming out of Christianity. Because they still want to hang on to the rigidness of Christianity. And I'm saying to them, no, you have more freedom under the governance of the Most High, because the governance of the Most High is not restricting you. He's giving you a way of life to live by that doesn't have restrictions. And the only restrictions that it has have to do with that which is moral and that which is ethical.
Absolutely.
Outside of moral and ethical, there's no restriction that the Most High places upon Hebrew Israel to have to dance 2 jigs and do 4 flips and a volley roll and a fire roll in order to live for him. No, he says it's neither even in your mouth to do.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's easy. It's simple.
Yeah. And here's the
I told you.
talk about this all day long.
I told you. Oh, I wish I was 30 years younger. If I was 30 years younger, I would be having a royal ball.
How so? Because I'm about in that age range that you're talking about.
Because the things that I was taught I couldn't do, I realized that the Father says, I didn't put that restriction on you.
Sure. Right.
You can go do that. Mm-hmm. You're not violating anything within the governance of the nation of Hebrew Israel.
Absolutely.
You can go do that.
Absolutely.
Oh, you wanted to go bowling? You can go bowling. I didn't put any restrictions about that.
Yeah.
Oh, you wanted to go dancing? I didn't put any restrictions on that said you couldn't go dance.
Matter of fact,
you're
supposed to be festive.
Oh, you wanted to go to the show? I didn't tell you couldn't go to the show.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
What's my mitzvot say? Mm-hmm. If you know, you know what?
Because you know what what that turns into? It turns into a form of almost Judaism, because they have the Talmud that gives them all these extra pieces that are surrounding the particular mitzvah. And that's what it seems like is happening over. You can't do this and you can't do that because of why? Because we don't want, for whatever reason.
You'll become a sinner. Well, I got bad news for you. You still are a sinner.
Exactly.
If you're not obeying and walking in the mitzvot by your own text in 1 John, you are a sinner.
Absolutely.
So what are they protecting you from? Oh, I can't say that word. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Nothing.
You can say that,
life. The Most High gave us life.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave us abundant life to be able to enjoy the things that he has created for us and the things that we have created for us.
Mm-hmm. Here's one of the selling. It's such a, I got to say this in the mic. It's such a, I don't want to say a minor issue, but it's resonating in my mind as you're speaking. Everything that's over there on Christianity, they got to pull it from somewhere. They got to come over here and get these mitzvos. But here's the other thing. The fact of the matter is, and like I said, this is kind of almost a minor point to what you're saying, is I have all these freedoms, and I have real estate, and I have the protection of the Most High. Can you say you have the same thing? Does your Christ give you real estate somewhere? Does he give you a land that is germane to your people? Tell me, if you weigh what the Most High is providing, if you're saying, you know what, I was agnostic, I'm an atheist, and I'm just evaluating the two, I find greater benefit over here and freedom over here than I do over here. But it's the way things are framed every single week. Again, one of the things I learned in 2023 is to really stop and think about propaganda and to think about how things are being framed to you. You go to church every single week for somebody to frame that you're flawed and that you need to be fixed. Huh? Wait a minute. If you knew who you were, you wouldn't even be coming in there with that attitude.
No, not at all.
It's like the mechanic that keeps breaking stuff in your car, so you keep coming back.
Right.
And we're not trying to do that. That's why I had that thing about T.D. Jakes and that woman thou art loose. He's worried about loosing the woman. I'm worried about not getting the woman into the position where she has to be bound. And that's through the mitzvot. If you come over here and you start living like this, you won't have to worry about being loose from anything.
Right.
Because you're already free.
You're already free. Now, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something. The text across the street says, he whom the Son is set free is free indeed.
Indeed.
Well,
Yes,
let's
sir.
define the Son.
Yes.
Let's define
Let's
the Son.
define it. And here I'm gonna challenge you. You can't go to Shemot by doing it. I'm fooling with you. Go ahead.
Well, there's another text besides Shemot.
Oh, yeah.
That says, when Israel was a child, I loved him. Mm-hmm. But Shemot chapter 4, verse 22 says that Israel is my firstborn son. What's Israel's job? Israel's job is to set people free. Now, I'm going to come back to something else. My best friend...
I was going to say that. Go get him. Come on.
My best friend told me, sitting at his kitchen table one evening as I was on my way back home from working in the Bay Area, and he called me by my nickname. He said, only a free man can set another man free. Mm-hmm. Only a free man can set another man free. Mm-hmm. So, my freedom is within the hands of a nation of people whom the Most High set free. And I'm in exile because my people didn't realize the freedom that they had. They didn't realize the king that they had. But I go to Joel, and Joel allows me to understand that even in this exile, when I have turned back to the Most High, he calls me his people, and he lets me know that he's my husband. So I'm set free. Mm-hmm. I'm a free person.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm out here trying to help the rest of you that are bound to be set free, but you refuse. You're like the slaves that
Amanita Ross
tried to. She said, if the more slaves would have known they were slaves, I could have set more of them free.
More of them free.
You all have to realize, I'm talking to Christians. If you listen to this podcast, I'm talking to you. You don't realize that you're enslaved and you're bound up in something that's designed to keep you hooked. Mm-hmm. Torah is designed to set you free. It's not for the Jews. It was written to Hebrew Israel, by Hebrew Israel, for Hebrew Israel.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that FUBU? For us, by us? For those of y'all knowing what that's about in the 80s.
You know, I'm unless you have something else you want to add, I'm done for tonight.
No. I'm good. I think the point is probably well taken.
You know, I know. Yeah. I didn't get into a lot of the documentation that defines the ethnicity and the blackness of Hebrew Israel, but that's okay. Mm-hmm. I probably wasn't for me to do so tonight because I was really trying to piggyback on the fire that I was lit upon last podcast, but you know, we're gonna. Anyway.
Well, you know what? I will say this. I did have this one last point, which was, you know, I kind of understand why the Most High on 2 points, why the Most High was so hard on our ancestors as they were going through what they were going through. Number one, to give an example, and number two, to also understand that you knew the Most High. You walk with the Most High. Look at us in our situation.
Yeah.
We're a disjointed group of people that are coming out of something to understand about the Most High.
Yep.
And we have an affection for the Most High. And where our ancestors fell down, we don't we didn't have the opportunity to be in the land. We didn't have the opportunity to reap the benefits of the land. We didn't have the opportunity to actually be social like that.
Right.
And it's difficult. It's just an arduous task. And if anything, this goes out to not only the people that are listening that are here with us today. I kind of always make sure my dissertation, I'm always looking for those generations that are coming after us.
Yes.
Because they have to understand
have to
who
understand.
they are.
Yes.
We will never get there if you guys keep acquiescing to these ideas and stereotypes that put you in a box that says you cannot do whatever the Most High asks you to
Right,
achieve. So
right.
to the descendants, know who you are. Your ancestors, which is us that are here, are struggling because we're lamenting over the fact that we shouldn't even be here because of the things that our ancestors did prior to this. We don't want you to suffer the same thing, and matter of fact, and walk in the opulence of the Most High if you just simply accept who you are.
Yes. Well, this has been Rabbi Robert B. Holman Jr.
Shawn Appleton.
and this has been
Hebrews in Exile. Shalom.